There is $1,000,000 question that most people ask, and they say, how do I manage, or how do I cope, or how do I navigate myself daily if I find myself in a toxic work environment, in a job that I really need? And this is a cry that a lot of people echo, because most jobs nowadays would have a little bit of toxic energy here and there, but there are different levels to this. There's some people who struggle to wake up from bed every day, but they need these jobs. I'm sharing today things that helped me to navigate work even when things were so difficult, when it was a very toxic environment, and I still managed every day to go to work and make a decent living. Anyway, if this is the first time that you've come across one of my videos, hi, thanks for clicking on this video, and I would love to have you here to join our little community. This is Lulu, and this is Lulusdiaries, where I share the things that I've learned, things that I would have done different to my younger self, and the things that I would want to share. So from my life experience, especially navigating 9 to 5, as well as day-to-day stuff, let's start straight into the video. I'll say the first thing to do is to set a boundary. Because this is not only for work. Generally, I've learned that setting boundaries is one of the biggest things that you could do for yourself, your interpersonal relationships, with your family, and with work. Those three aspects. Set boundaries even with your closest and dearest. You find yourself explaining yourself less. You find yourself not feeling guilty less, and you also find yourself in a place where you have authority, because people don't expect anything from you. So the way you can do it at work is set a boundary to say, once I walk in, if I start work at 8, I walk in at 7:45. If I start work at 9, I walk in at 8:45. Those boundaries could also be called non-negotiables. And you can say, once you finish work at 5, you don't stay trying to make sure that you're the best or you clock in last. No. Setting boundaries very early on sets the tone. Either you suit in that environment or you don't. Very early on. Because don't start what you cannot complete. Don't start with all the oomph, all the energy. Start, coming ridiculously early, setting expectations so high, and then you cannot live up to those expectations down the line. It's really difficult. I went through this. One of the jobs I spoke about, where I had like a back injury, and I was a slave to myself. Of course, it gave me what I needed at the time, because I was at the place in my life where I needed the money ruthlessly. I was in a lot of debt. I had goals that I needed to achieve, and I was bent on achieving them, come rain, come sun. And the only way I could achieve that was to keep my job. But I set the tone so high from the onset. I started walking in at 7 and I left at 7. And I could never, even times that I asked to come in slightly later, it was turned down. Why? Because, I'm this person who is always giving. And at that point, I had 3 young kids. And others who would never ask for overtime or ever do it. And that is the tone and the boundaries that I learned later on to set from the beginning. If they don't like you, they'll tell you. If they do, good on you. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing I'm going to talk about is having a ritual, something that you do. Make it very religious so that you don't feel. A pre and a post work ritual. A pre-work ritual could be that thing that you do before you go to work. For me, think about something that you love to do. People are big on fitness. They think they have to run, maybe they might have to go for a walk, they might go to the gym, they might lift weights just to bring their cortisol levels down, or to get that dopamine hit, so that you have the energy to go into the shower and take a bath. The times that before COVID, when I used to go to work every day and I lived miles away, I had to drive on the motorway for an hour. I don't know, I just had that discipline, that drive, because I knew that I had targets to hit. But the thing that I love to do is I love calmness. I'm big on my well-being. So sometimes I'll wake up, I'll listen to music, I'll make sure my house is nice and clean. I've set the tone. That's about 30 minutes of me going downstairs, cleaning it, maybe dry cleaning, making sure my kitchen is spotless, my bedroom is clean, and then I lie down for a bit, get up and I go to work. Some others have to meditate or do the manifestations in the morning. So people are big on yoga, think about that one thing that you love to do and try and create some time before you get up, so that that keeps you going. Another thing that really helped me was to imagine where I was going to. So if you have this big dream to start a business, or to invest, or to be a sole proprietor, to start your own business, or to travel the world, this will help you when you meditate and when you manifest. It keeps you going to have these goals and ambitions. That is the only way that most people survive toxic environments that are not happy, because they can see the end very close. If you're just going with no goals, just complaining, you're going to be in a vicious circle that might never end. So think about that, consider that. And also, there's a post-work ritual where you've got your cortisol levels high, you've had a stressful day. Again, unwinding is important. Having a ritual after work, maybe it's listening to music, taking a warm bath, a soak, whatever it is for you, whatever makes you calm. So people might want to have a glass. I don't encourage people drinking during the week, but if whatever your thing is, have it and incorporate it in your routine, because that will really help you. The next point I'll talk about is making sure that you remember that nobody you work with is your friend. I have dropped hints on this because I am in a place right now where I have lost a lot of trust in humanity after some personal things have happened to me at work, and it'll be a miracle if I ever trusted anybody again. Miracles do happen, I'll say that. But remember that when you go to work, you are going to fulfill an order. You're going, you know how when you have a purchase order for an item, you are fulfilling it. You're not going to work to make friends. You're going to work because you have a contract and you have to fulfill the obligation. Don't look at work as one, as, oh, your thing. It's not your thing. Two, nobody's your friend. So go to work and bear that in mind, get it done and get out. I'm saying this because there's a very thin line between oversharing at work and being called an introvert, or being called a recluse, or being called antisocial. I'd rather settle for the latter as opposed to oversharing, because in that work environment, when you start oversharing, there's jealousy, people mind your business, and it could turn out even worse, especially if it's in an environment which is already toxic. You might just talk about something that you did over the weekend, and the next minute something happens. A lot of people share this story of sharing the social media with their friends, and you might one day maybe call in sick and they're like, oh, you were out partying or this. Try to separate it. Keep it on LinkedIn, right? Keep it on LinkedIn. Keep it professional on LinkedIn. I have fallen victim because I'm trying to declutter my whole life, and when I go to my friends list, I have almost 5,000, for example, on Facebook, and a good number are from the jobs that I have picked on, and there's some people that I've made genuine friends with that we still communicate, and there are others that are just there to spy at you. They don't really bring anything. While we work together, they were backstabbing, but they're still there. So I'm decluttering and I'm just cleaning my whole environment, and that's when I remember that I'll add that to this point to say, don't cross that line with your colleagues. When you walk out the building, walk out and wave. If you go to a Christmas party or summer party, let it talk about work. Don't talk about anybody. Don't overshare personal life and walk out. That would always help you. This point that I want to share now, I don't know if you guys are going to really understand, but it might be controversial. If you're not in a happy job, talk about it less if you don't plan to leave. Hear me out, okay? Sometimes we find ourselves in this web of repeating ourselves, talking about how horrible our jobs are, talking about how we want to quit, and then you keep talking about it. It becomes like a negative obsession that you're always sharing, always unhappy, want to leave, and that's all you talk about. Do you have this friend that when you call, you guys cannot have any meaningful conversation because it dwindles down to work? They are not able to separate work and their personal lives. And it's worse when they're not even in happy places at work. You're wondering, why are you talking about a job that you hate so much? It beggars belief. You just wonder, is it becoming an obsession because you're not happy? The more you talk about it, it doesn't help, especially if you have a goal you're looking to achieve. Just wait and do it. Don't talk about it so much. Don't moan about it, because the more you talk about it, the more your cortisol level goes up, the more you get stressed about it. Just get on with it. Avoid talking about the negative, the ill effects of work, because then People actually don't sometimes want to even talk to you, because again, this is not to anybody I know, I'm just saying, and I might have been a victim as well, but just try to remember that everybody has challenges at work. Yours might be bigger than the next, but dealing with it, I know that is harsh, they say deal with it in quotes. Dealing with it will make things a lot better by zip. When you get out, shut down, think about one exciting thing to do and less about work. Don't moan, don't overthink, don't overanalyze. It could get depressing and it's of no good, because you are in that environment for a reason, right? And you know that you're heading somewhere. So just say, this is my cross for the next year. To if it gets to a point where it's affecting you so bad, of course you know what I'm going to say, walk out. I always say walk out alive than in a depressed, broken person. Also, try to make sure that work doesn't affect your family dynamics, because a lot of people have separated, marriages have broken because of work stress. Yes, people come home depressed, they start drinking, they start being snappy at the kids, they lose the things that are important because of somebody's job. Before you get carried away, ask yourself this question: that is it worth it? Is it? Are we not in this plan together? Don't we have an exit strategy? Think about that before you let work overtake you completely. Your lifestyle is an important aspect of you, so your energy has to be reserved, has to be kept, has to be like a sanctuary. Your well-being is important. So I'm saying all of this if only you know that you have a plan. But I will not encourage anybody to stay in a toxic job. And if you find yourself in that environment, the thing that I'll say to you is, please take notes, take steps, and make sure that you document everything that you believe happens to you. I'm not saying you should stay there and rot and suffer. Of course not. If the bullying, the aggression, the microaggression, or the discrimination, or just the toxic environment gets to you, before you make any moves to leave, is keep a track record. And also make sure that you follow the right procedure. If you have to go to HR, if you have to seek for help, don't die in silence, because nobody is meant to suffer because they need to keep a job. It should really not be that way. I know that that's rich coming, but that is something that you should bear in mind. So if you're suffering, make steps to either get something better or handle the case at work following the right process. And I have shared in a separate video, which I'm going to add here, of some tips on how to navigate this environment in a separate video, especially things that we Black women face at work, microaggressions, and how you can fix it while you're working. So I'll place that video here. And yes, that's everything. If there's some points that I've missed out, please feel free to add. And if there's any other topics on this aspect you want me to talk about, feel free to mention or send me an email. And I'd also shared a few days ago my community that if anybody has some stories, anonymously of course, they want to share to the community, I'll be happy to read, put my spin, my experience, and my thoughts on it, and I'll share with our community. So if there's anybody who you know, or any story that you think will make, somebody could learn from, please feel free to share. And if you liked this video, give us a like, and I'll see you in my next video. And don't forget to subscribe. It's been Lulu, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.